instead of a book review, I'm going to go through my Avengers collection, or quite a bit of it. I'm not going to every single book. I'm going to go through some of the British, very few of the British ones. I've got quite a lot of British ones. Also, the American ones. I think that's most of my American ones. And also omnibuses and epics that I've got of the Avengers. And even that's not particularly true. It's just really the first batch of the Avengers, the 1 to 100 period. So just going to show the first thing, which I think is one of a very useful guide. And this one's got a tatty old copy. It came out in 2011. Official index to my Marvel universe, obviously with the Avengers. Now they produce ones with Captain America. I've got that one. Also with Thor, and also X-Men and Spider-Man and Iron Man. But what did it have? Well, it had index and it had loads and loads of little thumbnails. Sadly, a bit small. I always thought that they could have just done a bit bigger than that. But of course, the text would have been even smaller because it's very, very compressed. Lots and lots of detail, lots of great detail, but it becomes ridiculous where it's got next in WCA 2587, Tigra, blah, blah, last in. It's a lot of detail that possibly you just might pass over. But it's still very good because it's got a nice, obviously, synopsis of the story. Given lots of detail, background detail. Now, sadly, not so much about the behind the scenes in terms of what was happening, in terms of the artists, what they were doing, etc. So, but I really love this book. 2011, so it doesn't include, obviously, all the latest stuff, but it's got lots of things, obviously, classic ones like the Avengers Defenders War, and it's got lots of detail there. And then, of course, the classic 118 issue as well. So, next thing. Now, I've collected comics for quite a while, probably back 67, 68. I must admit, can't remember every single comic I bought around that time. I'm certain I bought quite a few that I haven't got now. And things like Alan Glass and L. Miller, I'm certain I probably... Because this is slightly weird. This is the Terrific first issue. This is a UK comic, and it had the Mighty Avengers. And the reason I put this one is because it's the first Avengers, but it's not the first Avengers. It's the first Avengers that I knew about, but it does show here. You've got the sort of origins of all the various Avengers. See Giant Man there. Got one here for the Mighty Thor. Now they've laid the panels out slightly odd, so obviously reconstructed the story a bit. But the first story they put in here, ostensibly this must have been the first issue, but maybe there were early issues in Wham or POW or something that they included the Avengers. And this is the Masters of Evil story, which was issue 6, I think it was issue 6, maybe. One of those early issues anyway, of the Avengers. So this is terrific. Now, we had to wait quite a while before the next real sort of, obviously lots of Avengers comics in Terrific, but Terrific stopped at about issue 43, which is a pity, but that was that. And then for probably about 3 or 4 years, we had to wait. Mighty World of Marvel came out. And then by Mighty World of Marvel 46, there was an issue, obviously, with the Avengers, and that had the Loki story. Now, this came out, Avengers Weekly, and this was from September 22nd, 1973. And this one's very tatty. This was in my original copy, so the page is fallen to pieces. Been read many times. I haven't even got the back page anymore. So. And you got the Captain America joins the Avengers. Again, black and white. And this time it was the whole story, which was really quite something as well. And you got the whole, so obviously the Captain America's just been found, and they've all been frozen into a statue there, and you've got Captain. Obviously, the story is very Captain America. Now, I would love to, of course, have the actual American copy. I haven't, because, of course, it's now insanely expensive. But it's still great to be able to read this in here. Now, of course, I've got the epic editions, omnibuses and things, so much better quality of this. But I still really think that the black and white UK ones were really quite good, because you really had quite detailed artwork here. I mean, it's really quite sharp, and you can really see a lot of detail, so you can really appreciate the story there. So, on to the American ones. This is my first Avengers comic I've got, issue 3. I haven't got 2 or 1. I never had issue 1. I have had issue 2. Got rid of it next to nothing, which was quite good because now I got issue 3 for next to nothing as well. Most of my comics, as you can see, are tatty, fallen to pieces. Half the pages are ripped and torn. But still, as I've got all the stories in epic collections and omnibuses, etc., which I will be showing in this video, it doesn't really matter. I love tatty ones. Of course, you can read a tatty one and you can open it up and it falls to pieces. Doesn't matter. So, great cover. I love this one. Hulk and Submariner. And you got Avengers meet Submariner. It's really quite odd that that poor old Hulk, sort of, who is actually the main character in the story, virtually is left off the title. It says featuring the Hulk. That's generous of them. But what a great cover that was. One of the greatest battles of all. I love this story. But it was mainly the Hulk. You got the Hulk character. It's really fairly, at the start of it, near enough reads like a Hulk comic. It's actually a Hulk comic more than Avengers, particularly the Hulk. It's got a lot of storyline with sort of, him escaping from. This was sort of stuff that was in the Hulk issue 1 to 6 and Tales to Astonish sort of stuff. But it's this is it. The Hulk must be stopped. And I love there's one bit in the scene here where, of course, you've got Submariner contacts. He's looking at the Hulk, but he contacts the Avengers. And I think it's quite good. There's no doubt this message is genuine. And it says, the Hulk and Submariner join forces, etc. and have challenged us to a battle. Hang on. So this is what you do. Sort of go off, so villains contact you and say, look, we want a battle this week. So we're just going to have a fight. And, turn up and we'll do. However, that's obviously the way they did. I love the projector that he uses in this as well, where he sort of connects the rest of the Marvel universe. So you've got like here, he goes off and meets the X-Men, Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, etc. That's just great. I don't think they ever really used that again, but what a great little idea it was. So, onto a slightly less tatty issue. This is issue 8, but it's still pretty tatty. And weirdly, I bought this one in a pile of French comics. It was on the table. It was a French dealer, and he was loads of French books. And I was looking through, and suddenly I found this, and I thought, it was about the only English copy in the whole lot. It was like £2 or something. And you think, okay, I will have that copy. Yee, brilliant! I love this one. Kang, one of my favourite stories. Just packs on like Team Brigade again. They were still going quite strong. Team Brigade. They sort of faded away. Rick Jones faded away. I suppose not a bit like Justice League of America, where you had Snapper Carr. They sort of realised Rick Jones is sort of like a minor character. Though, of course, Rick Jones went off and was successful with Captain Marvel, etc. And you got Kang. There we must forget our past differences and unite against Kang the Conman. And you got all the various people obviously fighting Kang. Now, this is the thing I loved about these old issues. You got all these lovely, more triumphs than Marvel. You had these brilliant, all the covers. Absolutely superb. And also another thing I always loved about these ones, and I'm not going to show the last page, is of course you've got the letters pages. I love letters pages, as well as checklists and all that sort of thing. So you've got a checklist here, special announcement section. So you had at the time Fantastic Four annual, Marvel Tales annual, Spider-Man #1 annual, Daredevil issue 3. And I think they had that one. Oh, they actually had quite a few of those. And there's another one there. So you've got more triumphs there. I love those. Just absolutely superb. So that was a classic issue. Kang, of course, it says here, destined to rank as one of the most unique villains of all time. And of course, I love and wait till you learn his surprising identity. Not really certain that they really gave much of an identity particularly. Okay, you did learn a bit about him, I suppose, about Doctor Doom bit. But even that was a bit, of course, there's so many Kangs now. Who knows? Of course, the story has just gone completely ridiculous. Is he still connected to Doctor Doom in some way? I have no idea. Not so I don't really care anymore. I've lost track of what Kang. He's got so many. I love Kang, but the Kang Councils and Kang this and Kang Ultron, probably Kang Thanos and things. There's probably so many. He's probably got the Infinity Gauntlet for all I know. Who knows? This Hostage Earth. This is issue 12. Now it's got Mole Man, one of my least favourite characters. It's sort of most, yeah. And I think, the Red Ghost turns up as well. Another sort of non-character as well. But it's still good yarn, this Hostage Earth. I love this cover, actually. It's very high impact. I'm not certain why the characters are sort of bashing away, sort of Thor's smashing his hammer, looking out towards us. Very odd. I mean, was there something happening thing? Because you got the characters there, actually. That would be probably a better direction to aim your dramatic scene. But Captain America's looking off somewhere else. I always love those in cover. When you look at a cover, quite often you look at a cover and you're thinking, what are the characters looking at? You got a character looking that way, looking that way, looking at. Never seem to be looking at the villain or something. You're thinking, well, did they? Anyway, mere quibble, but it's still great cover. And you got this one. Even an Avenger can die, of course. We know that doesn't happen, but still, what a great issue. And I thoroughly enjoyed this one. And they've done it similar before, of course, this sort of stuff. So, but again, you've got this lovely section here. I love these, all the covers. And also you've got this one where they've had all the covers. So you've got Millie the model, you've got Patsy and Eddie modelling with Millie, and so on and so on. It's quite an unusual issue where you've got this sort of very advanced civilization sort of thing. That's yeah, that was an odd issue. I put that down in my odd issue ones. Now, this was a classic. I love this one. I was thinking, again, this cover's slightly odd because you've got the Executioner and Enchantress, sort of like, what's she doing there? She's sort of got her hand, sort of, nothing's happening. Very odd. However, you got Zemo, and yeah. And I love the fact, now by my hand shall perish a villain. Of course, obviously, one of the characters dies on this cover. Not going to put any spoilers, but anyone that's read the Avengers knows who does die in this story. But I love Giant Man. I love that. Really great costume he had there. Brilliant stuff. Great dramatic Captain America there as well. Classic tale. Now this issue's fallen to pieces as usual. Most of my issues, I really loved the old Masters of Evil with the Enchantress and Executioner. They're great characters. They're always just there. Anyway, that was a classic. Because what it did, of course, it led on to the next issue, which was where the Avengers changed. It changed, and we had then the new set of characters. And at the time, people really, I don't think really, but I actually genuinely love this period. This period of when we had the Quicksilver, Wanda, Hawkeye, and Captain America, so which was finished off with like the Goliath returning, or Giant Man, of course. And I love those. And you got this one, when the Commissar, I always called Commissioner, always called him that, Commissar. My apologies. Actually, the reason is because, of course, in England we had a slightly different title from that, which was, I don't know why they did that. With the UK ones, they would often rewrite things. They would obviously change titles, and you think, why? Why so? Or issues would disappear. You'd suddenly have a gap. Suddenly there would be, and then suddenly it would jump one issue, as if they didn't have that issue, or something happened, or maybe they had an earlier print when it was called something else. Very odd. However, never could understand that. That baffled me always. But you had brilliant this group. I must admit, I loved the Avengers at this point. Pretty silly in terms of obviously the end, but it was still they're great stories with these ones, these characters. And also, of course, got letters paid and you've got the various other things. And I'll just quickly go to this section again, showing this is something I always loved, the old pictures there of all the different issues. So you sort of can see what was coming out at the same time. And this was Sergeant Fury and Howling Commandos, issue 20. Well, that was that one. It's falling over there. Pop art. I love the pop art ones. It was always something special for me, pop art. And this, of course, the Swordsman. Of course, you had the Swordsman, who, of course, went on to be, obviously, a hero with the Avengers a bit later in the stories. Marvel proudly announces the coming of Swordsman. Great story. And I love the artwork in this as well. Absolutely great. And then we got Power Man. Of course, Power Man was Luke Cage later on, but of course at this point it was still a pop art one. I love those pop art ones. And you got the bitter taste. Now they were always squabbling. They were never the best, but that was the thing I loved about them. That was just, it was not like the Avengers where it was sort of, we are going to stop this villain, whatever. It was more often they would end up fighting amongst themselves. And but a great little story as well. You got the Enchantress as well. Can't beat that. Enchantress and Power Man. They, of course, should have won easily, but I've always, as usual, it never works out because you got the road back. This was issue pop art, still pop art. Actually, pop art didn't last very long. Love those pop art ones. Don't know why, but whenever I see a pop art one, like a comic mart, I always think, oh, must buy that just because it's pop art. Stupid, I know, because it's just. However, on to the next one of Avengers. Now, this is like the last one I've got of what I consider that small quartet. Once Upon Avengers, you've got that brilliant can cover. I have no idea why the backdrop's there. It's quite a big backdrop, quite a lot of space with the Avengers there. This is issue 23. But what was that background sort of, and why is he so large? Anyway, very dramatic, really quite brilliant cover. Once an Avenger, obviously Captain America there. And then on to where it slightly changed, because you suddenly had obviously Goliath come back, obviously Giant Man. And weirdly, the Wasp, I don't think, the Wasp was still in the stories at this point. However, I always felt the Wasp should have had a lot more role. I would have thought it would have been better if the Wasp had been the Goliath character. If they'd suddenly given her the abilities to grow. But obviously that wasn't done. But it was great that they actually obviously had another female obviously with Black Widow and the Scarlet Witch. Obviously the dynamics of the group was slightly changing. And you got, well, in this case, obviously Swordsman's turned up and Power Man again. He was still sticking around, but he's never had very successful career, Power Man. I don't know what he's doing now. I'm certain he's just disappeared. Maybe he's still fighting. Maybe he's a bit angry that, of course, that Luke Cage has had his name. I think they did that story. However, then to smash a serpent. Now, this was quite a controversial story, this one. So, obviously, and the serpents did turn up a few times after this as well. But this is issue 33. And I love all these ones. See the new superheroes. It's got middle page there. Really great stuff. And, oh, I love this one. Marvel superheroes are coming your way on TV. And also, of course, you've got the lovely checklist. I love the checklists. Mighty Marvel checklist. I wish they'd bring out a book of all those checklists. I would buy that book. I'm quite certain I would still get that. So, and also, of course, the ballpen things. I loved reading those as well. There was quite a lot. They were quite silly, of course. You had Ring-a-Ding and all that sort of thing. With Dashing Don Heck, Wondrous Werner Ross, King Kirby, of course, and so on and so on. Mentioned all that sort of things. So it was a bit odd.